The call came on a Wednesday, just an ordinary morning. I still had coffee breath and sticky notes on my sleeve from the rush out the door. I had just sat down at my desk when my phone lit up with a number I didn't know. No name, no reason to answer, but I picked it up anyway. Hello? Is this Nora Delaney? I paused. Yes. This is Charles from Liberty National Bank. We're calling about your mortgage. The balance is $523,000. I blinked. What? I don't have a mortgage, I said, a bit too sharply. You must be calling the wrong person. There was a pause. Ma'am, the file shows your name, birthdate, and social security number. It says you're the main borrower. The loan started 3 years ago. 3 years ago. That was when my younger sister, Meline, had started talking about buying a house. She called it her fresh start. She wanted a big home, something for the future. I remembered her showing us pictures she found online, laughing about bad credit scores like it didn't matter. Our mom said, "We'll figure something out. Family always finds a way. But not like this." I ended the call politely and sat frozen in place. The only sound was my laptop humming. My hands were sweaty. My mouth was dry. I told myself it had to be a mistake. Maybe someone else with the same name. Some mix-up. But deep down, I knew better. I ran to my nightstand and pulled open the drawer, digging past old papers and birthday cards. I found a letter from Liberty I had gotten months ago. I thought it was just junk mail at the time. Now, it felt like a warning I didn't understand. I sat on the floor, surrounded by papers, staring at my life scattered in front of me. I didn't own a home, didn't share accounts with anyone. I kept things simple on purpose. And yet, someone had taken out a huge loan in my name. And not just anyone. Only one group of people had all my personal information, my full name, social security number, signature. I had helped them fill out college forms, doctor forms, and bank stuff for years. My family. I didn't want to believe it, but I couldn't ignore it either. Some betrayals don't make a loud noise, they just quietly close the door behind you. That night, I didn't sleep. I stared at the ceiling, thinking the same thing over and over. If they had asked, would I have said yes? I didn't think so, but that wasn't the point. They never gave me the choice. By morning, I stopped pretending it was just a mistake. Everything added up, the timing, the words they used, the silence afterward. Meline had talked about her dream home just before that loan was taken out. She wanted a porch, a basement, space for, someday. She didn't have a job then, her credit was bad. But our mom said, "Don't worry, Maddie always finds a way." Turns out, I was the way. I started digging through old files, papers I hadn't touched in years, tax forms, copies of my social security card, old insurance forms I'd co-signed when mom had surgery. There it was, everything someone would need to pretend to be me, and I had given it to them, bit by bit, because I was the reliable one, the helper, the quiet daughter who didn't complain. Mom used to say it proudly. Nora doesn't need help, she's strong, she figures things out. That was the deal. Meline got second chances. I got silence. It was always like that growing up. Meline forgot to clean, she's just going through a phase. If I forgot, you know better, Nora. She wrecked her car, that's what insurance is for. I asked for a used laptop, we're not made of money. They didn't hate me, that would have been easier. They just didn't think I could fall apart. Maybe that's why they thought it was okay to use my name, my credit, to tie me to a huge lie. Maybe they thought I was strong enough to handle it. But deep inside, something had changed. Not anger, not revenge. Just clarity. I opened my laptop and asked the bank for a copy of the loan paperwork. The woman on the phone was polite, not knowing her email would change everything. When the file came, I looked at it closely. There it was, page after page. My name, my birthday, my info, my signature. Only, it wasn't mine. It looked like it, close, too close, someone had practiced, maybe even traced. But they didn't get the little things right, the shaky R, the way my Y slants upward at the end of Delaney. This signature was clean, straight, confident. It looked like me. But it wasn't. And the scariest part? I knew exactly who wrote it. I didn't call them, I didn't text Meline or send a long, emotional message to my parents asking how they could do this to me. I didn't yell, I didn't demand answers. Instead, I started gathering every document that connected me to them, old tax forms, medical papers, school loan forms I had signed when Dad lost his job. I went back nearly 10 years, going through folder after folder, building a quiet trail of evidence. There were so many signatures, so many small moments where I had said yes, because I felt I had to, because I cared, because I didn't know how to say no. Sometimes, I said yes when no one even asked me. One by one, I printed my own records, credit reports, identity checks, lists of accounts in my name. I had never owned a house. But there it was. A full mortgage package from Liberty National Bank with my name on it. Signed, official, legally binding. But it was stolen. For a while, I kept everything spread out on my kitchen table, organized in neat piles, like I was working on a school project. But this wasn't school. This was about protecting myself. At work, my friend Sloane noticed something was wrong. She saw me zoning out during lunch and gently pulled me aside. "You look like you're holding your breath," she said. I told her the whole story. I'm not sure why, maybe because she was one of the few people who actually asked how I was, and truly meant it. She didn't try to comfort me with empty words. She just pulled out her phone and said, "Call this guy, he's smart, and he doesn't get scared off by family drama." That's how I met Mr. Whitaker. He was older, maybe ex-military. He spoke clearly and didn't waste words. We met at a small cafe a few blocks from my apartment. No receptionist, no fancy office, just him, a notebook, and a cup of black coffee. He looked through my stack of documents without saying anything. When he was done, he shut the folder and looked me straight in the eye. "You know what this is, right?" "I think so," I said. "It's fraud, and identity theft," he said, "at the very least." Hearing him say it out loud made my chest tighten. I nodded. "I don't want to ruin their lives," I said. "I just want this to be fixed." "You're not ruining anything," he replied. "You're taking back what belongs to you." He spent the next hour explaining what to do: file a police report, write to the bank, send in the proof, and challenge the mortgage in court, press charges if needed. "It's going to take time," he warned, "and it will probably destroy whatever connection is left." I thought about that word, destroy, as if there was still something left to destroy, as if I hadn't already been walking alone for a long time. When I got home, I opened an old birthday card from a box I hadn't touched since moving in. It was from my mom. I knew the handwriting right away, even before I read the card. "Happy 28th to our steady one. We don't say it enough, but you've always been our rock, our backup plan. We're so lucky to have you." Our backup plan. It was meant to be a nice message, but all I could feel was the truth in it. They saw me as dependable, strong, and quiet, so quiet, they thought I'd never say no. But I was done being the person they used when their plans didn't work out. Now I had a plan of my own. Sunday came quickly, too quickly. I stood outside my parents' house, the one with the white shutters and cracked driveway, holding a folder in my purse like it might burn through. I hadn't talked to them all week, not since I got the loan papers, not since I sat in Mr. Whitaker's office and realized this wasn't just a mistake, it was a crime. Still, I knocked. My mom opened the door almost right away and smiled like everything was normal. "Nora, sweetheart, I was just pulling the roast from the oven." I stepped inside. The house smelled like lemon cleaner and onions, just like always. Melanie was on the couch, looking at her phone. Her empty wine glass sat on the table. My dad was in his chair, watching football like nothing had changed. Nobody looked at me for too long. I sat through dinner quietly: pot roast, mashed potatoes, green beans with too much garlic. Mom made small talk. Melanie complained about her neighborhood. Dad grunted at the TV. I waited. After we cleared the dishes, I spoke. "Hey, quick question." 3 sets of eyes looked at me, no tension, just casual interest, like I was going to ask about car insurance or something. "Does anyone know about a mortgage with my name on it?" Silence. The room went heavy. Melanie's shoulders tensed, Mom's smile froze, Dad cleared his throat. I stayed still. I didn't blink, I just waited. Finally, Mom spoke in a soft voice like she was talking about forgetting to pay a bill. "Oh, honey, that's just paperwork. Melanie needed help getting approved. It's not like you're paying for it, we're family." Melanie added, still staring at the table, "You have good credit, I don't. It's not fair if you won't help." Not fair. Like I was the selfish one, like this was normal. I looked at them, my mom, my little sister I used to protect, my dad who once said I was his calm in the storm. They didn't think they had done anything wrong, they thought it was normal, expected. I nodded slowly. "Thanks for explaining," I said. Melanie relaxed and picked up her phone again. Dad reached for the remote. Mom looked relieved, like everything was fine now. They didn't see what had changed. They thought I was still the same Nora, quiet, safe. But I hadn't come to fight. I had come to listen, to give them a chance, and they used that chance to excuse what they did. The next morning, I filed a police report. The officer at the station looked tired, like he'd seen a lot of cases like mine. He flipped through my folder, the one Mr. Whitaker helped me build, and his face got more serious with every page. "You're sure you want to go through with this?" he asked, not because he doubted me, but because he knew how hard this would be. "If I don't," I said, "they'll just do it again." He nodded and stamped the papers. It was official. That afternoon, I mailed a certified letter to Liberty National. Inside was the police report, my ID, and a formal dispute. The post office clerk slid it into the tray like it was just another envelope. But to me, it was the end. A clear, quiet line drawn in ink. I didn't warn them, no angry phone calls, no dramatic speeches. Just silence. 3 days passed, then 5, then a full week. No calls, no texts, just the quiet weight of waiting. And then, finally, it came. Friday night, just after sunset, there was a knock on my door. I looked through the peephole. My mom stood there, wearing her nicest coat, her face a mix of anger and fear. I opened the door, but didn't step aside. She didn't wait to be invited in. "How could you?" she whispered. "How dare you go to the police?" Her voice was sharp, but underneath it I heard the panic, not about me, but about what might happen, about being exposed. I said nothing. "I trusted you to understand," she said. "Meline needed help, family sticks together." "No," I said quietly, "family asks, they don't steal." She blinked. The words hit harder because they were calm. "You've ruined everything," she snapped. "Do you know how this looks?" I almost laughed, but I didn't. "I didn't ruin anything," I said. "I just stopped pretending it wasn't already broken." She opened her mouth to say more, but I was already closing the door. The click of the latch was soft, but to me, it was louder than any shout. It was the sound of an ending. Meline called 12 times, left 4 voicemails, each one angrier than the last. I deleted them all without listening. The next morning, I got an email from Liberty National. They were putting the mortgage on hold while they looked into it. They apologized and said they were checking the notary records and the signatures. My credit was still hurt, but something had started to change. I called Mr. Whitaker. "They're taking it seriously," I said. "They usually do," he replied, "when you don't yell and just show them the facts." He was right. I didn't shout, I didn't beg. I just stood still and let the truth speak for itself. And somehow, that was enough. The weeks after that were quiet. No more texts, no more invites, no more guilt trips pretending I owed them anything. They didn't want to make things right. They just wanted the version of me who always said yes. But she was gone. Instead, I started doing things I had forgotten I loved, walking to the farmer's market, putting flowers on my kitchen table, reading books with no phone buzzing beside me. I didn't want revenge. I just wanted space, and peace. And for the first time, I had both. Months went by. Spring came in quietly, trees blooming in soft pinks and yellows, like the world was starting over. Even if I wasn't quite ready. I stayed focused, checked emails from Mr. Whitaker, signed forms, checked my credit like I didn't fully trust it. The case was still open, the damage was still there. But inside, I felt calmer. I spent weekends walking trails, trying pottery, volunteering at the library. Nothing dramatic. Just simple, peaceful moments that belonged to me. One morning, I was at a local art fair, standing behind a table full of cups and bowls I had made myself, imperfect but mine. A woman picked up a small cup I had named Reclamation. It was a little uneven, smooth in some places, rough in others. She turned it in her hand. "Why did you call it that?" she asked. I shrugged. "Because it wasn't supposed to exist, but it does." She smiled, paid in cash, and walked away. That night, I sat on my balcony with a cup of tea. It was the first true quiet I'd had in years. Not the kind of silence that comes from being ignored. The kind that comes from finally being free. And then, I saw them. My mother, my father, Meline. They stood at the edge of the parking lot, unsure whether to come closer or leave. They looked smaller than I remembered. Meline's makeup was smudged. My dad's shirt was wrinkled. My mom clutched her purse like it was all she had left. I walked downstairs slowly. When they saw me, they froze. "Nora?" my mom said, voice shaking. "We made mistakes, but we're still family." Meline stepped forward. "I just need a little help, please don't shut us out." But I didn't feel angry anymore. Just calm, because I knew, they weren't here because they loved me. They were here because they needed something again. I set my bag down and looked at each of them. "I hope," I said, "you'll learn what real family means someday." They didn't say anything. But family isn't something you can steal, or fake, or only expect when it's easy. I reached into my coat pocket and took out a manila envelope. Inside was the forged mortgage document, with my name, their signatures, and a big red stamp across it, void. Behind it was an old birthday card, the one that said, "You've always been our backup plan." I handed the envelope to my mom. Her hands trembled as she took it. "I'm not angry anymore," I said. She opened her mouth to speak, but I didn't wait. "I'm free now," I said, "and I'm not coming back." Then I turned and walked away. The sound of my own footsteps was heavier than any argument I could have had. I didn't look back. When I reached the top of the stairs, I paused. The wind lifted the edge of my coat. The sun was setting, and the shadows stretched across the lot. I whispered to myself, "Sometimes walking away is the loudest thing you'll ever say." And I meant it. They used my name like it belonged to them. But I walked away. No yelling, no warning. Just silence they couldn't ignore. If you've ever felt like someone's backup plan, you'll understand why I never turned around. Subscribe if you're done being quiet. Some truths aren't shared to be forgiven, just remembered.